cosmic ghosts. Look up at the sky. What you see is a cemetery of time, a grand mausoleum where every photon is a tombstone for a moment long vanished into oblivion. Each ray of light touching your retina is a ghost from the past, a silent traveler from dead worlds, carrying within it the encrypted history of its birth and long, lonely journey through the void. The sun that warms your face now died 8 minutes and 20 seconds ago. Its photons, born in the thermonuclear hell of its core, may have spent hundreds of thousands of years fighting their way through dense layers of plasma before breaking free, and only then crossed 150 million kilometers of vacuum to end their journey on your skin. Perhaps at this very second, a catastrophe occurred in its core, stopping the reactions, but we continue to live in the illusion of its warmth, in the golden shroud of its posthumous glow. We warm ourselves by a fire that went out while we weren't watching, and this deception is so sweet, so familiar, that we call it reality. What if this fire is merely an echo, a fading reverberation of a primordial explosion that happened in those unimaginably distant times when our planet was still a molten ball of boiling lava, sterile and devoid of even a hint of life? The sun was born from chaos, from a giant molecular cloud of gas and dust left over from the explosions of previous generations of stars, where gravity danced its deadly waltz, slowly but inexorably compressing matter into a protostellar core, ready for ignition. And now, after 4.5 billion years, its light is the posthumous sigh of those ancient stars, stretched into eternity. We breathe this sigh, not suspecting that it carries within it the dust of dead worlds, carbon atoms in our bodies, iron in our blood, born in the fiery furnaces of supernovas that exploded long before the first single-celled organism on Earth opened its eyes to the light, if it had eyes. Our existence is necromancy on a cosmic scale. We are assembled from the ashes of the dead. Imagine yourself in an absolutely dark room, where on a single wall are reflected the shadows of people long gone, their movements, their lives, captured in the play of light and shadow. Plato described something similar in his myth of the cave, but our cave is the entire observable universe, and we, its prisoners, are chained not by shackles to the wall, but by a fundamental law of nature, the ultimate speed of light. We are doomed to see only echoes of reality, a cinematic projection of a cosmic drama whose finale has already taken place. What if these echoes are not just shadows, but distorted, fractured memories? Light, this messenger from the past, doesn't fly in a straight line through perfect emptiness. Its path is curved by the gravity of massive objects. It bends around black holes and galaxy clusters like a river bends around rocks, and comes to us changed, colored by the hues of alien worlds, stretched by the expansion of space itself. Around Saturn, light dances in its magnificent rings, composed of billions of particles of ice, reflecting off fragments that were once comets or moons, torn to pieces by merciless tidal forces. We see this as otherworldly beauty, as a work of art, but essentially it is ruins, a gigantic field of debris, fragments of destroyed celestial bodies circling in an eternal mourning dance around their gaseous master. Jupiter, with its Earth-sized storms, sends us images of tempests that raged centuries ago, when humanity didn't yet know electricity and looked upon it as a wandering star. These storms, like the famous Great Red Spot, are atmospheric ghosts, giant vortices of gas where lightning strikes with force, exceeding all earthly thunderstorms combined. But to us, they are merely picturesque spots in a photograph, moments frozen in time and space. We are prisoners of light speed, doomed to exist in a world where the present is unattainable by definition. Everything we see, everything we register with our instruments, no longer exists in the form we perceive it. We look at the nearest star to us, Proxima Centauri, and see it as it was 4.2 years ago. Perhaps during this time, it produced a powerful flare that incinerated its hypothetical planets, or conversely, calmed down, creating conditions for the birth of life. We will never know this now. We are doomed to eternal waiting for news. The Andromeda Galaxy, our nearest large neighbor, appears to us as it was 2.5 million years ago. Think about this. When the light we see today in telescopes as a fuzzy patch left Andromeda, Australopithecines, our distant ancestors just beginning their path to intelligence, still roamed the Earth. They looked at the same sky, but didn't understand what they saw. Andromeda rushes toward us at hundreds of kilometers per second, preparing for a grand collision with the Milky Way in 4 billion years. But its image is a portrait of its distant youth, when it was even farther away, when its stars were being born in giant cradles of gas, and the supermassive black hole at its center actively devoured entire solar systems, flaring brighter than all the stars combined. We don't see the coming galactic collision, only a faint hint of it, like a vague premonition in a prophetic dream. Proxima Centauri, this dim red dwarf star, barely twinkles in our southern sky, but its flares are events from 4 years ago, perhaps bursts of fierce activity that could have destroyed any form of life on planets around it. We fantasize about life there, about civilizations sending us signals, but these signals, if they exist at all, will come to us as ghosts, late to the party of life by billions of years. We are like the blind man from the parable who tries to describe an elephant by feeling it in parts, but with the difference that this elephant has been dead for millions of years, and we touch only its cold, frozen shadows. Each star is a letter from the past, sealed in a photonic envelope and sent through the abyss of space. Some of these letters travel to us for thousands, millions, billions of years, and when we finally open them by pointing a telescope at them, the sender has long since turned to cosmic dust, into an expanding cloud of gas, or a cold, dead ember. Take, for example, Betelgeuse, this red supergiant star in the shoulder of Orion constellation. It is in the final stage of its evolution and could explode at any moment, turning into a supernova that will shine in our sky brighter than the full moon, visible even during the day. But the light from this grandiose event will reach us only 640 years after it happens. We see it today as peaceful, majestically pulsating in the slow rhythm of a dying heart. But perhaps it's already dead. Perhaps its core has already collapsed, and the shock wave is tearing apart its outer shells, scattering heavy elements throughout space from which new planets will someday form, and, perhaps, new life. This letter we receive from Betelgeuse is a time bomb ticking in the absolute silence of vacuum, and we will never know exactly when it will explode. Or Sirius, the brightest star in the night sky, actually representing a binary system. Its light, which is 8.5 years old, carries to us the story of a gravitational dance where the blindingly bright main sequence star, Sirius A, neighbors a dim white dwarf, Sirius B, the burned-out core of a once massive star. This white dwarf circles around its giant companion like a ghost around a grave, reminding us of the inevitable fate of all stars. We read these light letters under the microscope of spectroscopy, passing the rainbow of their light into the finest dark absorption lines, where atoms of hydrogen, helium, and other elements tell us their stories of temperatures, pressures, and velocities from long past epochs. Every night, we raise our eyes to the sky and see a magnificent necropolis. Many of these twinkling points, which we romantically call stars, are already dead. Their light continues its endless journey through emptiness, carrying news of what no longer exists, like a messenger unaware of his king's death. We bathe in the posthumous glow of long-extinguished suns, mistaking it for eternity. Like carefree children playing in an ancient cemetery, we admire the beauty of carved tombstones, not understanding that we dance on the graves of entire worlds. The Milky Way, our home galaxy, this spiral river of hundreds of billions of stars, visible on a clear night as a hazy band, is a giant cluster of phantoms. At its very center, in the source Sagittarius A star, hides a supermassive black hole with a mass of 4 million of our suns. It greedily devours surrounding matter, gas, dust, and entire stars, and these death agonies of matter cause X-ray flashes that we register on Earth. But we see this with a delay of 26,000 years. When that light, which we catch today, left the galactic center, Earth was in an ice age. Neanderthals and Cro-Magnons shared the planet, and human civilization was just a distant dream. We observe galactic cannibalism in the distant past, like watching archival footage of a long-completed execution. And supernovas, these blinding explosions of massive stars. They illuminate the sky like fireworks at the funeral of the cosmos. The supernova of 1987 in the Large Magellanic Cloud, a satellite galaxy of the Milky Way, exploded 168,000 years ago, but its light reached us only in 1987, carrying with it not only photons, but also a stream of neutrinos and gamma rays, ghost particles that pierce right through us without leaving a trace. We celebrate these events, give them names, build complex theories, but essentially, they are just echoes of death, reverberations of stellar core collapses, where iron, the last element that can be created in a star, becomes the grave of thermonuclear reactions. The universe is a gigantic and extremely inefficient postal system, where messages travel at the maximum possible speed, the speed of light, but senders die much faster than their letters reach their recipients. We receive postcards from dead civilizations, read diaries of vanished planets, study light from stars that have long become black holes or neutron stars. What if somewhere in the boundless cosmos there are or were planets like Earth, where life flourished, created civilizations, and then faded? The light from them is their last words, their swan song. Radio signals, if they ever sent them, are barely audible whispers in cosmic ether, lost among the noise of quasars and pulsars. The Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence project, known as SETI, has been listening to these whispers for decades, scanning the sky on the magical frequency of hydrogen. But all we could potentially hear would be a message from the deep past. A civilization on one of the planets of the TRAPPIST-1 system, if it exists, sends us images of its world consisting of 7 Earth-sized planets, but with a 40-year delay. This means that if we sent them a message today, a response wouldn't come for at least 80 years. To them, we are also ghosts from the past. They see our Earth from the Cold War era, when radio was just beginning to broadcast into space with sufficient power. Perhaps by the time they receive our modern signals, we will have already perished from our own stupidity, from nuclear war or ecological catastrophe. We are doomed to exchange messages with ghosts, participating in a grandiose séance where the table of time shakes from gravitational waves of long-past catastrophes. And the most tragic, most paradoxical thing about all this, we ourselves are an integral part of this grandiose light deception. At this very second, as you read these lines, somewhere in our galaxy, at a distance of thousands of light years, a hypothetical observer looks at our sun and sees Earth in the age of dinosaurs, or perhaps the time of building the Egyptian pyramids. To them, we are not yet born. To them, humanity is a distant, hazy future that may never come to pass. We exist in their future, but to them, we are pure fantasy, a theoretical possibility. Our own radio signals, which began their journey into space just over 100 years ago, now form an expanding sphere with a diameter of 200 light-years. The Voyager 1 probe, which left the solar system, carries with it a golden record with images of people, sounds of Earth, children's laughter, bird songs, music by Bach and Chuck Berry. But these artifacts will reach the nearest stars only in tens of thousands of years, when humanity in its current form will most likely no longer exist. We are messages in a bottle thrown into the boundless ocean of space, where slow waves of gravity carry us to unknown shores of unknown worlds. To hypothetical inhabitants of planets near Alpha Centauri, 4 light-years away, our Earth is a world from the time of the Roman Empire's flourishing, if they could make out the details. They see the Colosseum in its former glory, not knowing about our megalopolises, our wars, our internet. We are living history to them, an archaeology textbook written in light. We are ghosts to others, just as they are ghosts to us. Time, as we understand it, is torn apart by space into billions of unconnected fragments. The concept of now, or simultaneity, is a local illusion, convenient for life on one planet, but completely meaningless on the scale of the universe. It's a mirage in the desert of space. While you listen to or read these words, somewhere in a distant galaxy, grandiose events are happening. Stars are exploding, black holes are merging, new worlds are being born. But we will learn about this only in millions or billions of years. And about much, we will never learn at all. Because space itself is expanding, and this expansion is accelerating. Dark energy, this most mysterious force in modern physics, stretches the fabric of space-time, carrying distant galaxies beyond the horizon of observability, like ships forever disappearing beyond the edge of the world. Light from them continues to travel toward us, but space itself between us and them stretches faster than light can overcome it. Galaxies become redder and redder due to the Doppler effect, and then disappear. Galaxy GNZ 11, one of the most distant known, visible to us as it was 13.4 billion years ago, when the universe was a mere infant, may now already be beyond this horizon. Its light will never reach us again. We are losing entire parts of the cosmos, like pages torn from the great book of creation by the wind. This is the slow but inevitable Big Rip, predicted by some cosmological theories, where in the distant future, the night sky will completely empty. Only stars from our own galaxy, merged with Andromeda, Milky Way, will be visible, while everything else will turn into absolute, impenetrable darkness. We are the last witnesses of the departing train, where galactic cars detach one after another, carrying away the stories of billions of stars and perhaps billions of civilizations. We live in a gigantic museum of the past, naively believing it to be a gallery of the present. Every telescope, from a simple amateur one to space observatories, is a time machine, rigidly and irreversibly directed in only one direction, backward. The more powerful the telescope, the farther we look, the deeper we plunge into the abyss of time, into the archaeology of light. The Hubble space telescope shows us galaxies in their youth, in the era of their turbulent formation, but we see the universe like an old man nostalgically examining his own childhood photographs. James Webb, its more advanced successor, peers even deeper in the infrared range of light, capable of penetrating cosmic dust that hides the birth of the very first stars. It sees proto-galaxies that formed just 200 to 300 million years after the Big Bang, when the cosmos was still a hot, dense soup of quarks and gluons. These images we receive are portraits of the deep childhood of our world, blurred and distorted by cosmic microwave background radiation. This background microwave noise that itself is nothing other than the echo of the Big Bang itself, stretched by the expansion of the universe for 13.8 billion years. We study these photos like a family album, where our distant ancestors are shapeless clumps of gas merging in chaos and giving birth to the first heavy elements without which we wouldn't exist. But all this is the past, frozen in photons that overcame unimaginable emptiness to tell us about the very beginning. We live in a world woven from ghosts of the past, and will never, under any circumstances, see the true present. Every photon hitting our eye is a priceless archaeological artifact, a silent witness to events that are long gone. We meticulously study a dead universe, deceiving ourselves with the thought that we understand a living one. Like archaeologists excavating the city of Pompeii buried under ash, we reconstruct the picture of life and sudden catastrophe from frozen poses and objects, a catastrophe that has long since ended. Black holes are the Pompeii of space in pure form, places where matter froze in the infinite density of singularity, and time, from the perspective of an external observer, stopped at the event horizon. Light from the accretion disk rotating around them is the death cry of dying matter, stretched and distorted by extreme gravity. We observe redshift, where photons lose energy, desperately fighting for freedom from gravitational captivity. We see events at the very event horizon with infinite delay, but what happens inside is forever hidden from us. There, perhaps, past, present, and future merge into one indistinguishable point. Quantum foam at the very edge of the black hole, where virtual particles constantly emerge from vacuum and annihilate, is the source of quiet whispers, Hawking radiation, which is believed to slowly evaporate these cosmic monsters over unimaginable periods of time. But for us, for our lifetime, they are eternal, and their light is an eternal prisoner, frozen at the boundary of non-existence. Our existential sadness in the universe is like an echo in an empty Gothic cathedral. It reflects off the dead, cold walls of space and returns to us, amplified many times by the awareness of our insignificance. We are alone, not only in space, but much more terrifyingly, in time. We are the last, fading echo of a quiet whisper that sounded billions of years ago at the moment of creation. The echo of the Big Bang still sounds in cosmic microwave background radiation, in tiny temperature fluctuations of 100,000th of a degree that we see on the sky map. This map is a blueprint where the seeds of future galaxies and clusters were planted in the first fractions of a second of the world's existence by quantum fluctuations inflated by cosmic inflation. We listen to this ancient whisper with space probes like Planck, building detailed maps where matter density draws a grandiose cosmic web. But this is just an echo, weakened and cooled by expansion, like a voice in the desert calling us to its origins. The famous Fermi paradox, where is everybody, is perhaps not a paradox of space, but a paradox of time. Civilizations may arise and fade in different corners of the galaxy, but their light signals are not synchronized with our brief moment of existence. We shout into the void. Our powerful radars and lasers carry our messages into space. But answers, if they come, will be from a future that may no longer exist for us. And perhaps this is where our tragic but piercing beauty lies. We are the last witnesses of extinguished worlds, unwitting guardians of the light of dead stars. In our retina, in the memory of our computers, in the depths of our telescopes, live the memories of the cosmos itself. We are a living library of light, where every registered photon is a word from an infinite book written by stars. Our eyes and our instruments are pages of this book, where spectral lines are letters of the alphabet and Doppler shift is punctuation. We read the history of stellar evolution, from their birth in gas nebulae, through stable life on the main sequence, to their death as white dwarfs, neutron stars, or black holes. Neutron stars, where matter is compressed to the density of atomic nuclei, spin at frenzied speeds, sending strict, metronome-like radio pulses, pulsars, into space. These pulsars are the most accurate clocks in the universe, ticking with precision, exceeding our atomic clocks. But their light is also from the past, perhaps from stars that have long since slowed their rotation or collapsed further. Someday, our light too, the light of our sun, will become a ghost to someone in distant darkness. And perhaps some lonely observer in another galaxy will sadly look at our dead, extinguished sun, not knowing that we once lived here, loved, suffered, built cities, and pondered eternal questions about the meaning of existence under these very rays of light, rays that to them will be merely messengers from an unimaginably distant past. In 5 billion years, our sun will expand into a red giant, swallow Mercury and Venus, evaporate Earth's oceans and atmosphere, turning it into a charred stone. But light from this apocalyptic event will reach distant observers only millions of years after everything is over. They will see our solar system as picturesque ruins, planets as ghosts circling around a dying star shedding its shells in the form of a planetary nebula. Our last artifacts, probes, satellites, station debris, will drift eternally in interstellar space like bottles with final messages, carrying information about human DNA, maps of Earth, our music, and our dreams. Someone, perhaps millions of years from now, will catch Voyager, decipher our history, and learn about us. But to them, we will be no more than myth, an ancient legend about a strange race of beings from a distant planet that looked at the sky and saw only ghosts there, not realizing that it was one of them itself. But let us delve even deeper into this ghostly abyss. Consider neutrino ghosts, elementary particles born in the very hearts of stars, in the hell of thermonuclear reactions. They pierce through us in trillions every second, carrying with them heat and information directly from the nuclear furnace of the sun. They are truly invisible messengers, almost not interacting with matter, capable of flying through light years of lead without noticing it. But their stream, which we catch in giant underground detectors, is direct proof that the sun is alive inside, that reactions are happening right now, adjusted for 8 minutes, although its visible surface that we see is only its past. Neutrinos from the 1987 supernova arrived on Earth several hours before the light, because light had to fight its way through the dense, expanding shell of the exploded star, while neutrinos escaped from the collapsing core instantly and unobstructed. They are couriers who outrun the main mail, but still messengers from the past. We catch them in giant tanks of purest water, as in the Super Kamiokande detector in Japan, where rare interaction of neutrinos with water causes a weak flash of Cherenkov radiation, ghostly blue glow from a passing phantom, and gravitational waves. These aren't even particles, they're ripples in space-time itself, echoes of the most grandiose catastrophes in the universe, mergers of black holes and neutron stars that came to us through billions of years. Observatories like LIGO catch these soundless whispers, registering stretches and compressions of laser beams over distances thousands of times smaller than the diameter of a proton. These waves tell us about the final moments of life of massive objects in distant galaxies. When two black holes merge, they radiate energy equivalent to the mass of 3 suns in the form of gravitational waves, and this happens in fractions of a second. But for us, this is just a barely perceptible vibration, like the tremor of Earth from a very distant earthquake. We literally hear the past without seeing it, because gravity is not light. It's the curvature of reality itself, a shadow running across the fabric of space. Now let's think about dark matter, this invisible web that comprises 85% of all matter in the universe and keeps our galaxies from flying apart. It doesn't emit, absorb, or reflect light, but its colossal gravity curves the paths of photons from more distant objects. This effect, called gravitational lensing, creates bizarre arcs, rings, and duplicate images of distant quasars in our telescopes, as if we're looking at space through funhouse mirrors. We see distorted, multiplied images of the distant past through this dark, invisible veil, not knowing what it consists of. Dark matter is the main ghost of our universe, influencing everything visible, but remaining a shadow itself. Perhaps it consists of WIMPs or axions, hypothetical particles that right now wander through our bodies, through the planet, like spirits through walls, leaving no traces. Dark energy, accelerating the expansion of the universe, is a ghost not of the past, but of the future. This is an anti-gravitational force pushing galaxies apart, making space colder, darker, and more desolate. In the very distant future, through trillions of years, it may tear apart galaxies, stars, planets, and even atoms themselves in a scenario called the Big Rip. We don't see it directly, but we see its effect in light from type Ia supernovas, which serve as standard candles for measuring cosmic distances. Their light turns out dimmer than it should be, indicating they are farther than expected, meaning the universe is expanding with acceleration. This is a harbinger of inevitable end, light from dying stars telling us about the coming eternal darkness. Let us now descend from the heavens to earth, to the quantum level, where reality itself becomes ghostly. Here, everything is just a field of probabilities, and particles behave sometimes as waves, sometimes as points, depending on whether we're watching them or not. Photons, quanta of light, exist in a state of superposition of all possible paths until they are registered, like Schrödinger's ghostly cat that is both alive and dead simultaneously. In the famous double-slit experiment, they pass through both slits at once and interfere with themselves, creating a pattern of light and dark bands on the screen. But this is just a fixation of the past, the trace of a ghost that has already made its choice. And quantum entanglement, which Einstein called spooky action at a distance, is when two photons born together remain connected at any distance. Measuring the state of one instantly determines the state of the other, violating our familiar principle of locality, but alas, not allowing information to be transmitted faster than light. This is the telepathy of ghosts, instant connection beyond our understanding of time and space. Our sadness, our loneliness, and our beauty are contained in this realization. We are a fleeting thought in the mind of a dying universe, trying to piece together history from the light of dead stars. We weave a complex narrative from ghostly photons, create meaning where perhaps there is only chaos and indifference. This may be our only and great mission, to be the eyes and memory of the cosmos, witnesses to its departed glory, until our own light becomes another ghost flying into infinite cold darkness.